Your soulmate saying, I never thought I'd have to say this to you. My beloved child, stop for just a heartbeat, because there is something I never imagined I would have to tell you, and the silence between us has carried this message far longer than either of us expected. If you listen carefully, not only with your ears, but with the quiet place inside your heart, you may realize that this moment is not arriving by accident. It has been moving toward you for a very long time. There was a season when I believed that destiny would speak for me. I thought the small signs, the unexpected coincidences, the invisible pull that kept bringing our paths closer would be enough. I convinced myself that somehow you would understand everything without a single word being spoken. But today, I finally understand that some truths cannot remain hidden forever. Some feelings refuse to stay silent. And this is one of them. You may have noticed strange moments recently. Familiar songs appearing at unusual times. Random memories surfacing without warning. A feeling that someone, somewhere, has been thinking about you more deeply than before. Most people dismiss these moments as coincidence. But what if they are not? What if they are tiny echoes of a conversation your future has already begun? Stay with me for a little longer, because the next thought may change how you look at everything that has happened until now. I never thought I would have to admit that every step away from you somehow brought me closer to understanding you. The distance I believed would erase these emotions only made them clearer. The more I tried to focus on everything else, the more life quietly redirected my attention back toward the same place, toward you. Isn't it strange how the answers we search for often arrive only after we stop chasing them? Perhaps you've been wondering why certain doors closed. Why plans shifted. Why people entered your life only to leave again. What if none of those moments were mistakes? What if they were simply rearranging the pieces so that something far greater could finally take shape? I wish I could describe exactly how this realization feels. It is not loud. It is not dramatic. It is calm, almost peaceful. Like watching the first light appear after a long night, knowing the sunrise was always on its way even when the sky seemed completely dark. That is why I am speaking now. Because remaining silent would no longer be honest. For so long, I believed time would solve everything by itself. I believed patience alone would build the bridge between our stories. But today I see something different. Time doesn't replace truth, it reveals it. And the truth is simple. You have mattered more than I allowed myself to admit. Before you rush to decide what those words mean, let another thought settle into your heart. This isn't about perfect timing. It isn't about having every answer. It isn't even about knowing exactly what tomorrow will bring. It is about recognizing that some connections continue growing quietly, even when no one can see them. Think about your own journey for a moment. Have there been times when your intuition whispered that something meaningful was still unfolding behind the scenes? Moments when logic told you to move on, yet your heart remained unexpectedly calm. As if it already knew a chapter had not truly ended? Those feelings deserve more attention than you may realize. Because awareness often arrives before evidence. The future has an unusual way of sending gentle signals long before it reveals the full picture. And perhaps, that is exactly why you found this message today. Not yesterday. Not tomorrow. today. What if this isn't simply another video appearing on your screen? What if this is your reminder that unseen progress is still progress? That invisible preparation is still preparation? That unanswered questions are not the same as forgotten dreams? Sometimes the greatest turning points begin with nothing more than a single sentence spoken at exactly the right moment. I never thought I'd have to say this to you. But I can no longer pretend that what connects our paths is ordinary. Something has quietly shifted. Not outside first. Inside. And once something changes within, the world has an extraordinary habit of changing around it. So don't hurry past these words. The next part of this story reveals why this realization arrived now, and why the timing is far more meaningful than it first appears. Not so fast, because what comes next is the part one struggled to understand myself. I kept asking the same silent question, why now? Why, after everything that has happened, does this message finally have a voice? The answer didn't arrive all at once. It revealed itself in quiet moments, moments that most people would overlook without a second thought. Have you ever noticed how life sometimes becomes unusually still just before something meaningful begins? Not empty, just still. Almost as if the world is creating space for a new chapter to enter. That is where this story truly starts. For longer than you realize, I believed I needed certainty before speaking to you. I thought I had to understand every detail, every outcome, every possibility. But certainty is a moving horizon. The closer you get to it, the farther it seems to drift away. Then I realized something unexpected. Some messages are meant to be spoken before every answer exists. That realization changed everything. Perhaps you've sensed a quiet shift in your own life recently. Certain worries no longer carry the same weight. Certain dreams refuse to disappear. New ideas appear from nowhere, and old fears slowly lose their grip. These are not random changes. They are signs that your perspective is expanding, preparing you to recognize opportunities that once seemed invisible. Stay with this story a little longer, because the next piece connects more than you might expect. Imagine two travelers walking through different landscapes under the same sky. They cannot see each other, yet every lesson they learn brings them one step closer to meeting at exactly the right place. Neither journey is wasted. Every delay teaches patience. Every unexpected turn builds wisdom. Every quiet season creates strength that will one day be needed. What if our paths have been unfolding like that all along? I never expected to say these words because I underestimated the quiet power of timing. I thought progress had to be obvious to be real. I thought change had to be dramatic to matter. But the deepest transformations often happen where no one is watching. Maybe that's why you're hearing this today. Not because everything is finished, but because something important has finally begun. If these words resonate with you, let them become part of your own journey. Share your thoughts below. I would genuinely like to know what part spoke to you the most. And if stories like this bring you clarity, staying connected here means we can continue exploring these moments together in the chapters ahead. Here's something even more surprising. Every meaningful connection leaves traces, not in dramatic signs, but in quiet decisions. The choice to become kinder. The courage to let go of old expectations. The willingness to believe that your future can be brighter than your past. Those choices create a path that destiny can actually build upon. So when I tell you that I never thought I'd have to say this to you, understand what I truly mean. I never imagined I would reach a moment where silence no longer felt honest. Because now I can see what I couldn't see before. The story wasn't waiting for perfect circumstances. It was waiting for a new version of us, one that could finally recognize its own potential. And what you're about to hear next may explain why every unexpected twist has quietly been guiding this journey toward a destination far greater than either of us imagined. A quiet realization is about to unfold, and this may be the moment you've been unknowingly preparing for. Don't rush past these next words, because sometimes the smallest truth unlocks the biggest transformation. The story has been moving beneath the surface all along. And now, for the first time, you can begin to see its shape. There was a time when I believed that reaching you meant finding the perfect words. I searched for a message powerful enough to explain everything I had discovered. But every sentence felt incomplete. Every thought stopped just short of the truth. Then I understood something unexpected. The most important message isn't the loudest one. It's the one that arrives exactly when your heart is ready to receive it. That is why I am here now. Not to convince you. Not to predict your future. But to remind you that some connections grow stronger through understanding rather than urgency. And perhaps that is the lesson neither of us expected to learn. Take a moment and think back. Can you remember a decision that once felt confusing but later became one of the greatest blessings in your life? At the time, it probably seemed like nothing more than another uncertain step. Yet looking back, every piece fit together with remarkable precision. Life has a beautiful way of revealing meaning in reverse. Maybe this journey has been doing the very same thing. Every unexpected pause. Every unanswered question. Every moment you wondered whether you were moving in the right direction. None of it was empty. Each experience quietly shaped the person you are becoming today. Stay with this thought, because the next realization carries even greater weight. I never thought I'd have to tell you that the distance between two souls is not measured by miles or time. It is measured by understanding. The instant two hearts begin seeing life with greater clarity, they are already closer than they realize. That is the shift I feel now. Not because circumstances suddenly changed overnight, but because perspective did. The future often whispers before it speaks. It sends quiet invitations before it opens great doors. It asks for trust before it reveals the destination. Perhaps you've been standing at one of those quiet doorways without even noticing. Perhaps the uncertainty you've been feeling wasn't confusion at all. Perhaps it was preparation. Imagine looking back one day and realizing that this very moment, the one that seemed so ordinary, was actually the beginning of everything that followed. Wouldn't you wish you had paid closer attention? That's why I'm asking you to stay present. Not because something dramatic must happen in the next minute, but because awareness changes the way every future moment is experienced. And here's the truth I could no longer keep to myself. I never thought I'd have to say this to you because I assumed destiny would always speak louder than I ever could. But destiny has a remarkable habit. It often speaks through simple moments, through unexpected conversations, through gentle reminders, through quiet courage, and sometimes through a message like this. So if your heart feels a little lighter than it did when this story began, if a small sense of hope has quietly replaced uncertainty, if you feel that something meaningful is unfolding even though you cannot yet explain it, don't ignore that feeling. Protect it. Nurture it. Because every extraordinary chapter begins with an ordinary moment that someone chose to believe in. This isn't the end of the story. It's the point where everything starts moving with new purpose. And what comes next will reveal why today's message was never about coincidence. It was about recognizing that your greatest chapter may already be unfolding, one quiet step at a time. One final thought. Before this journey reaches its destination, allow yourself to hear these words without expectation. Sometimes the ending you've been waiting for doesn't arrive with noise, it arrives with clarity. And clarity has the power to change everything. For so long, I wondered whether this message would ever find you. I questioned whether the timing would feel right or whether the moment would simply pass unnoticed. But now I understand something I couldn't see before. The right message never chases. It arrives exactly when the listener is ready. And perhaps, that is why you stayed until this very moment. I never thought I'd have to say this to you because I believed our paths would naturally reveal everything in silence. Yet silence has completed its purpose. It has taught patience. It has taught reflection. Most importantly, it has taught us that the strongest connections are built through growth, not through rushing toward an outcome. Take a slow breath and think about how much has changed within you. The person who began listening at the start of this story is not quite the same person hearing these final words. Maybe the change is small. Maybe it feels impossible to describe. But deep transformations often begin as quiet shifts in perspective before they become visible in everyday life. What if this entire journey wasn't preparing you to find someone else first? What if it was preparing you to recognize a stronger, wiser version of yourself? Because once that happens, everything around you begins responding differently. New conversations appear. New opportunities unfold. New confidence quietly replaces old hesitation. That is how meaningful chapters begin. Not with certainty. With readiness. And readiness has a remarkable way of attracting the experiences that belong in your life. So when I say, I never thought I'd have to say this to you, I am really saying this. Never underestimate the quiet work happening behind the scenes of your life. The days that seem ordinary may be building extraordinary tomorrows. The moments that feel unnoticed may become the memories you treasure most. And the hope you almost gave up on may be closer than you think. Carry this truth with you after this video ends. Walk forward with confidence instead of doubt. Choose curiosity instead of fear. Choose patience instead of frustration. Because your story is still being written, and the best chapters are never rushed. If this message brought a sense of peace or gave you a new perspective, I'd love to hear what part stayed with you the most. And if you'd like to continue exploring stories like this together, you're always welcome to stay connected by subscribing and joining future conversations. Until our paths cross again, remember this. Some messages arrive to answer questions. Others arrive to awaken possibilities. Today was never about predicting your future. It was about reminding you that your future is still full of possibilities waiting to be discovered. So keep your heart open. Keep your vision clear. Keep moving forward. Because somewhere beyond today's horizon, a new beginning is already preparing to welcome you. And when you finally look back at this moment, you'll realize it wasn't the end of the story. It was the sentence that gave every chapter before it a deeper meaning. As this journey gently comes to a close, there is one last truth I have carried within me, waiting for the perfect moment to be spoken. Don't let these final moments slip away, because sometimes the quietest ending becomes the strongest beginning. If you've listened from the very first word until now, you've probably realized something important. This message was never asking you to chase a future that hasn't arrived. It was inviting you to recognize the strength that has been growing inside you all along. I never thought I'd have to say this to you because I assumed destiny would always make itself obvious. I believed that when the right moment came, there would be no uncertainty, no questions, no waiting. But life has taught me something far more beautiful. Destiny doesn't always knock loudly. Sometimes it simply stands beside you, waiting for you to notice. Perhaps that is exactly where you are today. Standing closer to a new chapter than you realize. Closer to peace than yesterday. Closer to confidence than the version of yourself who first began this journey. Think about everything you've overcome. Every disappointment became wisdom. Every delay became preparation. Every unexpected turn quietly revealed another part of your own resilience. None of it was wasted. Not a single moment. And now, as I look back over everything I wanted to tell you, one sentence rises above all the others. You were never falling behind. You were growing at the pace your journey required. That realization changes everything. Because once you stop comparing your timeline to everyone else's, you begin noticing the incredible progress you've already made. You begin appreciating the quiet victories. The invisible healing. The courage to keep moving even when the destination wasn't clear. That is real strength. That is the kind of strength that creates extraordinary futures. So if you ever remember this message, don't remember it because it promised certainty. Remember it because it reminded you to believe in your own unfolding story. Because the future isn't built in one dramatic moment. It's built through hundreds of quiet decisions to keep believing, to keep learning, and to keep walking forward. And maybe, years from now, you'll remember this day. Not because every question was answered, but because this was the day you stopped doubting that meaningful things could still happen in your life. I never thought I'd have to say this to you. Yet now I'm grateful that I did. Because some words are meant to inspire action. Some are meant to bring comfort. And a rare few are meant to awaken a new way of seeing yourself. May this be one of those moments. So as this chapter ends, don't think of it as goodbye. Think of it as a quiet promise to yourself. To stay hopeful when the path seems uncertain. To stay patient when progress feels slow. To stay open when unexpected opportunities appear. And above all, to trust that every meaningful beginning first arrives as a whisper before it becomes a reality. Thank you for walking through this story with an open heart. Until our paths meet again, keep believing in the possibilities waiting just beyond today's horizon. Because your greatest chapter has never been about what you lost. It has always been about the incredible future you are still capable of creating. And perhaps, somewhere beyond the next sunrise, you'll smile, not because someone else changed your life, but because you finally realized you had the power to transform it all along. Before you leave, let me share the one realization I held back until the very end. Not because it was difficult to say, but because some truths only make sense after every other piece has fallen into place. And if you've stayed with me this far, then perhaps this final message was always meant for you. I never thought I'd have to say this to you. Not because I doubted our story, but because I underestimated your strength. There were moments when I wondered if the distance, the waiting, and the unanswered questions would make you give up on what truly mattered. Yet every challenge quietly revealed something extraordinary. You kept moving. Even when the road wasn't clear. Even when no one applauded your progress. Even when the future seemed hidden behind uncertainty. That is the kind of courage that changes lives. Look around your own journey for a moment. You are not the same person who started. Your heart has learned patience. Your mind has learned wisdom. Your spirit has learned resilience. These aren't small victories. They are the invisible foundation